Thank you to Danny Boy, The Sainted Jester, Vanessa Tarbuck, WRC Seb, Paul Holkar Wallace, Richard Tock and Alex Scott for becoming new members of the Kinetic Rugby League channel. Content on this channel will continue to be free, but if you'd like to become a member and support the work that I do, you can do for as little as £1 per month. Also, make sure you stop by the live streams at the weekend during Super League and sometimes NRL games and become part of a growing community and positive group of fans. And let me know in the comments if there's any new content you'd like me to start posting. Let's crack on with the video. So to recap my absolutely shocking predictions from last week, I got 3 out of 8 with the wins and 2 out of 8 with the margins. Now I do want to show at least a little bit of evidence that I do sometimes know what I'm talking about in this clip. I don't normally give betting tips, but if I'm going to give you one, Fanua Blake try. Just my expertise. Look out for that.
Lucy for a double, offloading out the back. McInnes keeps it alive. Briley, Fanua Blake. The two props have scored the first 2 tries.
Please keep in mind that it is incredibly difficult and, dare I say, impossible to literally predict the future. But with that being said, let's crack on with the video, shall we? Kicking things off, we have the Broncos taking on the Bulldogs. So if we start with just straight up form, the Bulldogs have won 6 out of 6 so far in 2025. The Broncos have won 4 of 7. Still positive, still okay, but certainly not what the Bulldogs have done so far this season. Now, the Broncos have also lost 2 on the bounce in games that they probably should have won, in my opinion, just purely based on player availability. They probably should have won at least one of those games. So not a good sign they're going into this on back-to-back losses under those circumstances. Canterbury, they've conceded 0 points in back-to-back games on the flip side of things, and 14 points overall in their last 4 matchups. So defensively, as we know from last year, incredible side, and they've really carried that into this season as well, so great to see. Brisbane are without Reece Walsh at fullback this week, so Cobbo goes there, who I think has looked uncomfortable on a good handful of occasions, not every time, but I think sometimes under the high ball has looked a bit uncomfortable and being put under that pressure. He's not used to it maybe as much. Some of the decision-making that he has to make and some of the production as a fullback offensively is just not the same as you'd get from Reece Walsh or Cobbo as a winger. So that could be a bit of a question mark for the Broncos this week. The Broncos are capable of scoring points, but could really struggle this week, and the Bulldogs' attack is looking really effective at the moment. That was something that I was hoping they could build on from last year. Ever since Burton and Sexton was the partnership at 6 and 7, they really built on their offensive side of the game. So I think defensively, the Bulldogs should be fine in this one compared to what the Broncos might be able to offer here and there over 80 minutes. The Broncos are still looking a little bit spineless to me at the moment, and the Bulldogs just playing fantastic rugby league at the moment. So I'm going to go with the Bulldogs to win 13+. Next up, we have the Roosters taking on the Dragons. Now, if you just look at stats this season for all the basic areas, they go in favour of the Dragons. That's win rate, points for, points against, completion rate, tackle efficiency, and form. The only thing that goes in favour of the Roosters is average play the ball speed. So, come on, St George, sort it out, boys. Yet I somehow don't want to back the Dragons. Why? Because it's St George Illawarra Dragons. That's why I don't want to back them. But, looking at form, we could be having a very different conversation about the Dragons right now, and the media could be having a very different conversation about the Dragons. They've won 3 in their last 5. So it means they've lost 2. Do you know what's interesting about those 2 games? They lost both by a point. By a single point. So they are that close to being 5 in their last 5. That close. They'd be higher up the ladder, and they'd be on a 5-game win streak. That's how close they are. We'd be having a very different conversation. So, are the Dragons a team that need to actually be taken fairly seriously this year? I think so. They should have beaten the Rabbitohs. I think we all know that, and they probably should have beaten the Eels. But they're that close to being 5 wins in the last 5. Now, with the Roosters, I think their forward pack is their best asset going into this game. I think we'll all understand that. But I think without more experienced leaders in the halves, I think that's going to continue to be a slight detriment. I like what Smith can do. I like what Savala can do. There's sparks in there. They can have some good moments. They're still developing as young players. They will get there. But I just think without clear leadership, without the regulars that they want in the halves, I think offensive production will struggle at times. And the Dragons are a team that can be quite resilient inside the red zone, defending their own goal line. We saw against Melbourne Storm in particular that when they can withstand that pressure, they can punish teams later on into games that don't put up the points that they should be putting up. I think the Dragons, based on stats alone, and if we really dive into that form again, they're so close to winning 5 in the last 5. And the Roosters are just not a consistent enough team right now. So I'm going to go with the Dragons to win 1 to 12 points. Next up, we have the Warriors taking on the Knights. Now, looking at what the Warriors are doing at the moment, they've won 4 in their last 5 games. So I think it's probably fair to say that they are a trustworthy side at this point. There was a couple weeks where I wasn't too sure whether to trust it or not, but I think at this point, it's probably fair to say they are a trustworthy side. The Knights' attack is unfortunately quite dreadful at the moment, and their completion rate is garbage as well, so that doesn't help. Now, the Warriors do have the ability to play some of the fastest rugby league that you will ever see at club level. It is insane the level of speed that they could be playing at. Now, they could really destroy the Knights. They could do, because we kind of associate the Knights with having a somewhat decent defence, but this year I don't know if it's really held up this year, if I'm honest. It's kind of up and down at the moment. So they could be destroyed by the Warriors' quick speed in attack. Now, with Chancellor Klokstad back in this week, Tani Taupiki also goes back into the wing where he can be an individual threat with his run game, cutting back inside, putting defenders under pressure. When the centre of the field and the prop forwards are a little bit tired later into the set, and they've got to shift across, start plugging those gaps, Tani Taupiki can start doing a bit of damage in that area. So that's something that could help. And I mentioned last week, without Chancellor Klokstad, he had the most... He was up there in the top 3 for average run meters, I think, possibly. So that comes back into the Warriors' side this week. Now, I just think the Knights' defence is just good enough to keep it at 1 to 12. Because I'd like to see the Warriors just be a little bit more... I'd like to just see more consistency from the Warriors. They're already doing a great job. Just want to see more. I just think comparing their attack to the Knights' defence, I think that keeps it as a 1 to 12. But I'm still definitely confident and in favour of the Warriors. So I'm going to go with the Warriors to win 1 to 12 points. Next up, we have the Storm taking on the Rabbitohs. Now, this should be one hell of a game, first of all. We have 2 teams facing off that have just been pumped last weekend. Both will be looking to respond. Now, Melbourne are clearly the better side. Clearly, we know this. But go into this game without Warbrick, without Howarth, without Kamikamitha, and without Grant. The Rabbitohs have individuals like Latrell Mitchell, Jack Whiten, Campbell Graham, and Cody Walker that can do plenty of damage to a back line that might not be settled, especially without Warbrick and Howarth. Now, I still don't fully trust the Storm defensively. I don't fully trust them. They've got a few issues here and there, a few lapses defensively, and with that possible disconnect on who they have over on the right edge this week, could be a bit of a liability, so we'll have to see. Now, the Rabbitohs also have Jai Gray at number 14, so his impact off the bench could be huge. You've already got a fairly decent forward pack with the Rabbitohs that could put up a good fight, and at the moment, no Kamikamitha for the Melbourne Storm, and Asfa Solomona is listed in the reserves as of right now. So, in terms of size, the Rabbitohs could compete quite well, wear them down a little bit through the middle, and then Jai Gray comes on later into the game. Like, Melbourne could be under a bit of pressure this week. Now, based on stats, Melbourne are the stronger side. They just are. There's Ryan Pappenhausen, there's Jerome Hughes, there's Cameron Munster, there's Xavier Coates. They've still got the back 3 of the forwards in Liero, Katoa, and Bloor, who will get through a lot of solid work defensively. And it's just those individuals that I mentioned in Pappenhausen, Munster, and Hughes. I think they'll just find a way to get it done. The Rabbitohs have also apparently never won at Amy Park. Like, according to the stats on the NRL website, they've played 12 games there and they've never won. So just based purely on the fact that Melbourne Storm do have the better squad, they rarely lose back-to-back games. The Rabbitohs haven't won a game at Amy Park, apparently, which I find hard to believe, but apparently they haven't. I just Melbourne Storm being a stronger team. I'm going to go with the Storm to win 1 to 12 points. Next up, we have the Cowboys taking on the Titans. Now, let's start with form, because form has completely flipped for both of these sides. If we focus purely on the last 5 games, not, the last 6 or 7, just the last 5 games, which is normally what I look at for form. Gold Coast, they went from 2 wins in a row to 3 losses in a row, whereas the Cowboys went from 2 losses in a row to 3 wins in a row. So they've completely flipped in that regard. The Titans are still playing without Keanu Kinney, and there's no Campbell in the halves again this week. They've conceded an average of 34 points per game in the last 3 games. So defensively, safe to say it's just not good enough, is it? It's just not good enough. 34 points on average. And that's not with one blowout of conceding 50 points and then, a decent 10-point defensive hold in another week. This is 30 plus points on all 3 of those games. So the defense has not been good enough from the Titans recently. For the Cowboys, Purdue is showing a lot of potential. Clifford is fitting in nicely to free up Dearden and Drinkwater, create plenty of opportunities. Based on the team list, form, overall stats, and actual performance, I think there's a clear favourite in this one. I still don't know if I trust the 13 plus for the Cowboys yet. I think the Titans do have a lot of good pieces in there that can do a bit of damage over the course of 80 minutes to keep it as a close enough game. I think a 13 plus is possible for the favourite in this one, but I'm going to go with the Cowboys to win 1 to 12 points. Next up, we have the Panthers taking on the Seagulls. Both of these teams are currently on negative form, so not a good look for this game. 2 teams that you'd expect to be flying fairly high at the moment. Neither team are perfect, or even great. Both teams are just good at times. And that's it, which is weird to say about the Panthers and the Seagulls. I think this will be a very tough game for a lot of prediction channels to predict. There will be a lot of us split, I can imagine, but this is quite a tough one to call, if I do say so myself. There are a few points that I can make in order to lean one way over the other. So here are my reasonings. Number 1, the Panthers finally got back to winning ways, but that's on the back of 5 losses in a row. Number 2, Tom Trbojevic comes back in for Manly, so their attack plus organisation should be better this week. And number 3, overall this season, Manly are statistically the better side in both attack and defence. The Panthers will make this a tough game, we know this. The work rate through the middle, their ability to scramble defensively. Nathan Cleary leading the way, controlling the tempo and managing the game as well as he does. It's difficult to look past Nathan Cleary, but Manly Seagulls right now, I think they've just got a bit more going for them, and with Tom Trbojevic back in there, I think Manly might do quite a bit of damage on the edges, especially inside the middle third, where the Panthers have been a bit of a liability. So I'm going to go with the Seagulls to win 1 to 12 points. Next up, we have the Raiders versus the Dolphins. Now, if I was to sell any one game of Rugby League this week between both the NRL and Super League for all Rugby League fans to watch, like if you could only watch one game this week, this is the game I would say to watch. The last 2 games that these teams have played, there was one in 2024 and one in 2023. The winning margin was in favour of the Raiders on both occasions by a single point. I think it was 31-30 in 2023 and 26-25 in 2024. They've won by a point on the last 2 occasions. Both of these teams have also won 3 on the bounce. Not only that, some of the young prospects that are included in these sides, you've got Kale Weeks, Savelio Tamale, Ethan Strange, Matty Nicholson, who's doing a great job for the Raiders, Hamaso Tabai-Fidel, Herbie Farnworth, Isaiah Katoa. I could list the entire team list for both of these teams as reason to watch these games. The Raiders look so exciting to watch. The forward pack just dominates. The backs look so quick and creative. The Dolphins are now on good form. A great win against Melbourne Storm at the weekend. They are now playing with power through the middle. The backs are creating opportunities. They're controlling games a lot better, defending a little bit better as well. Both of these teams are stacked full of players, and the matchup is beautiful. Absolute cinema. I just cannot wait for this game. It's going to be 5 o'clock in the morning for me. I'm going to make the effort to watch this one, because why wouldn't you? If you can watch any game this week of Rugby League, please watch this one. I would not be surprised or even disappointed if I got this one wrong. All I've done so far is hype up the game, not really talked about tactics or anything like that. I just think, as of right now, the way that history has gone for this game so far, so that tells you one thing. The forward pack of the Raiders, with the work rate that the likes of Papali'i, Horsburgh and Tarpany, the work rate they get through during a game, the stints that they can do, and then Ethan Strange, the most exciting young prospects in all of Rugby League right now, in my opinion. The control from Jamal Fogarty, the season that Sebastian Chris is having, the moments we get from Xavier Savage, I think that'll just add up. Hudson Young and then Matty Nicholson, as I said, those guys in the back row will possibly get some tries themselves this week. The Dolphins, now in good form, winning games that you maybe wouldn't have expected them to win. I just cannot wait for an insane game of Rugby League, and I think history could repeat itself again. I'm going to go with the Raiders to win 1-12 points. Finally for this round, we have the Tigers taking on the Sharks. I think some of you know where I'm going to start with this one. So, Mr. Galvin, if you ever wanted to hold up a middle finger to anybody in your entire life, now is the perfect time to do so. So he's back in the squad. They weren't in the squad last week, and they lost fairly heavily to the side that he's tipped to go to. And this week, he has the chance to do something very, very funny. Now, after all the shenanigans, all the crap that's gone on in the media and with the Instagram posts from teammates, this could be an interesting one. I think the Tigers are a fairly strong attacking side, and they can compete through the middle with the Sharks. They've got a strong forward pack, decent back line. I think the Tigers can certainly produce a lot of great moments. I think Luai and Galvin can produce sparks together. I think it'll just be an interesting one in how it's going to go. Very interesting for the Tigers. But with the Sharks, I think Trindle and Hines, they offer an effective enough kicking game. I think Kafusi and then adding Fanua Blake from the back of it, I think they can devastate teams through the centre of the park. I think they shift the ball around really well. I just think the overall clarity, organisation, defensive resilience, competitiveness through the middle, I think just all adds up in favour of the Sharks. I do think the Tigers can come out with a surprising win in this one, but there are a few things they need to perfect, and I think with all the noise, that's going to be the biggest impact. I think under normal circumstances with the Tigers, this would be a very close game, I think, because the Sharks aren't looking perfect, but I just think of what we've seen so far, everything going on, the Sharks, I can just fairly confidently lean that way right now. So I'm going to go with the Sharks to win 1-12 points. So to recap my predictions for this round, I'm going to take the Bulldogs to win 13+, then I'm taking the Dragons, Warriors, Storm, Cowboys, Sea Eagles, Raiders and Sharks all to win by 1-12 points. For my win confidence, I'm at about 80%. I do think the Bulldogs should beat the Broncos. I'm still thinking that the Dragons, Warriors, let's say Cowboys, Sea Eagles and maybe the Raiders would all be very close. And then with the likes of the Sharks and Storm, for example, could end up being bigger margins. So win confidence 80%, margin confidence I'm going to go with 75%. So that's going to be it for this video. If you guys have your own predictions, please let me know in the comment section down below, and please answer the Rugby League fan question that I pinned to the comments as well. Let me know what content you'd like to see in the future from this channel. But as always, if you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like. It does help to get the video out there to more people. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with more Rugby League content. And if you'd like to support the work that I do, you can do for as little as £1 a month, which converted to Australian dollars is $2.09. But that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.